Hey everybody, Jonas Schwartz in SNY's studios. Once again, continuing our coverage of the Big Blue bloodbath, if you will. Ben McAdoo fired this morning along with General Manager Jerry Reese. To put into perspective how rare a day this is for the Giants organization, as has been mentioned in several places, it's the first time they fired a coach since Bill Arnsparger in 1976, in season, I should say. First time they've changed general managers in season since 1979. Andy Robustelli stepping down. I'm now joined by our SNY NFL insider, Ralph Vacchiano. Ralph, could you imagine a more un-Giant-like day?
No, I cannot. It's obviously unprecedented for this franchise. It's something that John Mara did not want to do. He has resisted change over and over again throughout the years. He doesn't like firing people. He certainly doesn't welcome the kind of upheaval that he has now in the organization. You're looking at not just an entire new coaching staff, but maybe an entire new scouting staff, so many people in player personnel, not just the general manager. All of that is in flux right now, and it's just something that he prefers stability. It's not something he wants to do at all. And as we've known throughout the years, he has been very patient with Jerry Reese and some of his failures, with his coaching staff over the years. Tom Coughlin looked like he was out at one point, and probably at several points during his tenure. John Mara always leaned on the side of continuity instead. So to have a day where in season they make both changes to the GM and the coach is something that I don't think anybody could have predicted.
So why the abrupt departure? We all get the record. Everybody understands that. We all get the prospects of McAdoo, certainly towards the end of the year, did not look very good, and Reese the same way. Why this unprecedented departure? Is it simply because the fan base was irate that Eli Manning was benched?
Well, I think that's part of it, and it's not just the fan base, it's also
former players.
It's the media. There has been nothing but outrage, not just over the Eli Manning thing is obviously a big deal, and that seems to be the flashpoint for all of this, but you add in the team's 2-10 record, the discipline issues over the year, the fact that clearly they did not have the correct personnel, they had neglected the offensive line. All of that had built up to the point where a couple of weeks ago when they came back from San Francisco after losing to the previously winless 49ers, the owners issued a statement saying, we're going to evaluate this after the season. What's changed since then? The swirl of chaos became too much. The Giants were being portrayed as a lost franchise. They were being portrayed as fools, really, who didn't know what they were doing. And I think John Mara just got to the point after the miscommunication over the Eli Manning benching where he said enough is enough. He knew he was going to make these changes. He made them now to at least calm the storm, and it changes the storyline a little bit to now about the future, not about their misguided past.
All right, Ralph, thanks for your reporting. We've learned Steve Spagnuolo will be the interim head coach. Kevin Abrams takes over as the general manager. Since Eli Manning's benching seemed to bring all this to a head, who's the starting quarterback Sunday?
Well, multiple team sources have told me that Eli Manning is the likely starter on Sunday. There hasn't been an announcement yet, and we haven't heard from Steve Spagnuolo, the interim head coach, but the expectation is that Eli Manning will get his starting job back. It's something that John Mara clearly wants. He never wanted the streak to end. He does want to look at the young quarterbacks, but not in the way it was done. And I think Steve Spagnuolo will be on board with this. I don't know whether he was the one who suggested it or not, but when we talked to him last Thursday, he began talking about Eli Manning by tapping on his heart and speaking about his love for Manning. And they go way back to 2007, where Spag's defense and Manning's arm led the Giants to their first of 2 Super Bowl titles in the Tom Coughlin era. So I think that he knows, as many former players do, that this was handled not in the right way. There's a better way to do it. So it does look like Manning will start against the Cowboys. We'll also quell a couple of protests. There was reports of a fan protest outside the stadium and reports that several former players were going to show up on Sunday in Eli Manning jerseys to voice their displeasure. If they start Eli Manning in this game, obviously neither of those will happen.
All right, for more on this story, let us head out to East Rutherford. Taylor Rooks and Pat Leonard have much more on it. Taylor, take it away.
Thanks so much, Jonas. Certainly not a boring day here in East Rutherford. The guy just mentioned it a bit. Now there's a lot of speculation around Eli Manning. Will he start on Sunday, and what does that mean for the franchise if he does?
Yeah, ESPN's reporting he's expected to start. Not a surprising development in that. Here's what I think. I think John Mara feels terrible about how this went down. about how he oversaw a botched benching, basically, and that Ben McAdoo then played a role in kind of finishing the job there and delivering the news improperly to Eli Manning. So I think Mara, a sensitive guy, is trying to make it right. I don't think he can, quote unquote, make it right in the sense that the 210 start streak is over and they ruined it and they messed that up and they'll never have that back. I do think that the players, and this is nothing against Geno Smith, I do think that the players will respond to doing the right thing for Manning, just as they responded to being the wrong way it was handled when they benched him. I've always thought that come this offseason, the Giants might have to make a tough decision on Eli Manning, but this wasn't the time to do it. This wasn't the way to do it. I also think, frankly, that John Mara, a little selfishly, is doing this in the sense that he doesn't want a fan mutiny on his hands. He wants people in the seats. So from that standpoint, if it's not the right decision, it's the prudent decision. They want people at these games, and they don't want people with bags over their heads and signs that fire McAdoo or put Eli back in. They know they messed up. I think that John Mara feels terribly about how this happened. And even if he can't make it right, that would be one way he's going to try.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say that players are still generally mum about this entire situation. I reached out to Odell Beckham Jr. He declined comments, said he did not really want to discuss Eli or the firing at the moment. So John Mara is going to address the media shortly, and hopefully some questions will be answered at that time. Thanks for your insight, Pat.
You got it, Taylor.
Back to you, Jonas.
All right, Taylor, appreciate it. You mentioned John Mara, that press conference, 2 o'clock. You will see that on SMY on the television side as we will bring it to you live as John Mara once again speaks about firing his general manager and his head coach in season, something that so rarely happens for this football team. So you know what? We're going to leave it there for now. We will return again on the television side, 2 o'clock for John Mara's press conference. For Ralph Acciano, Taylor Rooks, Pat Leonard, I'm Jonas Schwartz. We'll see you on the TV side at 2.